As a federal employee, you're probably trying to weave through the maze of complexity with respect to the delayed resignation offer that's currently on the table. Of course, a decision is required by February 6th. But you might be even more perplexed if you're not quite sure what category you fall in. So today's episode is going to be all about those who fall into the MRA+10 category, and we'll work through all the details of how that program works. Hi, my name is Chris Kowalik. I'm the host of the Fed Impact podcast, where we offer candid insights on your federal retirement. Hi, I'm Chris Kowalik of ProFeds. Welcome to the Fed Impact podcast, where we offer candid insights on your federal retirement. So if you're new to the show, welcome. We have had quite a uptick in following over the last week or so, simply because of everything going on. So we're delighted to have you here, and definitely a lot to cover today. Today's episode is part of a series that we're doing on the delayed resignation offer to help federal employees in different categories be able to figure out what things really look like for them. So not only watching this MRA+10 video, but some of the others might be helpful to you as well. Of course, I hope that you subscribe so that you're able to continue to get updates as more things come out. Okay, so in order to understand MRA+10, we first need to really understand what it means to be fully eligible to retire, because this really is the baseline. So the rules for full eligibility, there are three different sets of criteria that you could meet. Okay, so in the event that you are fully eligible, it means that you have reached at least age 62 with at least 5 years of service, at least age 60 with at least 20 years of service, and at least your minimum retirement age, which is somewhere between 55 and 57, depending on the year that you were born, with 30 years of service. Okay, that's what it means to be fully eligible to retire. Well, aside from that criteria, what does it mean? Well, it means that there are no penalties to apply to your pension, and that your pension begins right away. It's not one that starts 5 or 10 years down the road. It starts right now. So how does that compare to an MRA+10? Well, the rules for MRA+10 are a little bit different. So you still have to have met your minimum retirement age, again, somewhere between 55 and 57, depending on the year that you were born, and have at least 10 years of service under your belt. So this would be someone who started in federal service a little bit later in life. They haven't been here their whole career. So they've got the right age. They just don't have the right number of years. Okay, they don't have the full 30 that are necessary to be fully eligible to retire. So what this essentially means is that this person could retire. They have the ability to draw a pension right away. And they really have two choices, and that choice is going to determine whether they get a penalty applied. So the first choice that they have is to start the pension right away. If they do that, they will suffer a 5% per year penalty that they are under the age of 62. So if someone's 57 and they go out under an MRA+10 retirement, their pension will be penalized 5% times 5 years. You got that right, 25% for the rest of their life. Okay, so if that doesn't sound really appealing to you, another option is that you could go ahead and leave service at 57 and voluntarily postpone receiving your pension until you've reached the correct age. Now, for most of you, that correct age will be 62. If you truly only had 10 years of service, you would be able to draw that pension at 62. The difference is if you had at least 20 years of service. So again, you had the 10, but you really had 20, but not the full 30. You would be able to draw your pension at 60. Okay, so very important that we understand kind of the dynamics here. And what this essentially does, if you wait until, in this case, 62 to draw your pension, if you only had 10 years of service, if you're going to wait all the way till 62, there are no penalties applied from that point forward. But I've got to say, for 5 years, you didn't get a pension. And so that might feel like a penalty in and of itself. Okay, but you have a couple of different options with respect to how you want to work that. Now, if you said, hey, listen, at 57, I'm leaving government service and I'm going to go get a contractor job, or I'm going to go work in the private sector, I don't need the pay during that time, then postponing receipt of that pension sounds like probably a good idea. But if you say, I just can't do this anymore and I really need to retire, the idea that you're taking a pension that is going to be penalized forever to a pretty significant amount may not be the best financial decision to make. Now, of course, everyone's got their circumstances, and I understand that, but I definitely want you eyes wide open, no surprises. That's one of the things that's important to us, to make sure that federal employees get what they need and don't end up doing something that they regret later in retirement. All right, so we talked about the pension, but there's more to retirement than just the pension itself. I want to talk about two specific benefits that you have as federal employees. And we'll do that first, and then we've got a couple others that we'll talk about. So the first group is FEHB and FEGLI. So this is your health insurance and your life insurance through the federal government. Both of these programs, if you go out under MRA+10, both of these programs require you to have been enrolled for 5 years immediately prior to your retirement and on the day that you retire. Okay, so if you hopped into FEHB last open season, in the fall of last year, guess what? You're not going to be eligible to keep that because you've not been in that program for 5 years immediately prior to your retirement. Now, same thing with FEGLI, 5 years prior to your retirement and on the day that you retire. Okay, so definitely important if you want to keep those two programs that you understand what the rules are in order to do so. The next program is the Special Retirement Supplement. Now remember, that's the program that looks a lot like Social Security. It's not Social Security, but it behaves like it, and it's paid prior to the age of 62. So this program for MRA+10 employees does not exist. You will not be eligible for this program, and so you need to weigh that in your options as you're deciding whether an MRA+10 retirement is right for you. The last piece that I'd like to talk about is the thrift savings plan and the penalties that can sometimes be assessed. So by the nature of an MRA+10 retirement, someone has already reached the age of at least 55. And so we don't have worries of TSP penalties, and here's why. So the IRS normally wants people to leave retirement accounts alone until they reach the age of 59 and a half. But they've made special rules for accounts like the thrift savings plan and other 401k style plans to allow people who leave their employer, either separating or retiring, to be able to access that money earlier without penalty. So the rule is, if an employee were to retire or separate in the calendar year in which they turned 55 or older, they are able to access the TSP without penalty. Okay, so definitely a lot to consider with MRA+10 retirements. I hope that if you're thinking about taking one of these types of retirements, that you've taken some time to get your numbers so that you can eliminate as many surprises in retirement as possible. Of course, if you did not already listen to the January 30th replay of the webinar, please go to that page. You can visit fedimpact.com/webinar. You will see that replay as the very first video in the list, and that way you can get spun up on how all of this works. Okay, and remember, this is part of a series, so you might find some other episodes within this series helpful as well. Now, if you are of the mindset that you sure wish you were better prepared for this moment of thinking of whether retirement is right for you, I have the next best thing that you need to do. So we wish we would have done it a long time ago, but the next best time is right now. So we do retirement training for federal employees all over the country, even overseas, and I'd be delighted for you to attend one of our in-person retirement workshops. You can see all the locations and dates by going to fedimpact.com/attend. Okay, again, fedimpact.com/attend. All right, so thank you so much for being here. If you want to have continued updates from us, there's a couple of ways that you can do it. One, I hope that you subscribe to the podcast platform that you're listening to so that you continue to get that in the algorithm. But if you want some more direct communication from us about benefits that are available, continued changes, additional offers that are made, and all of that, you can pull out your phone and text the word podcast to 224-444-6144, and we will have a little bit of a text exchange to be able to get a little bit of information from you, and we'll be able to send over the link with all the resources that we talked about today. All right, so thank you very much for listening. If you are considering that MRA+10 retirement, I hope today's episode was helpful, and we will see you next time.